Hey, I'm Sarah, and this is the Goddess in Training podcast. This isn't about being perfect or polished or having it all figured out. This is about what happens when you actually start listening to your body, your intuition, your patterns, your truth. I'm asking big questions and having real conversations, sometimes messy and sometimes magical, with people who've lived through it, grown through it, and still don't have all the answers. If you've ever doubted yourself, betrayed your gut, or wondered if you're the only one, you're not. Let's talk about it. Hi, welcome back to Goddess in Training. I'm Sarah, and today we're wandering deep into the forest with a woman who truly lives her wild myth. My guest is Agne, the wild priestess behind Wild Medeina on Substack. She grew up in Lithuania, where goddesses still live in the trees and stories are carried in the soil. Her work is all about guiding women back to their untamed voice, their embodied power, and their sovereign, wild feminine. In this conversation, we talk about what it really means to be a wild woman, not as an aesthetic or a hashtag, but as a way of being that's rooted in truth instead of performance. Agne shares her own initiation out of a life that was bleeding her dry in academia and into her calling as a wild priestess, including that Saturn return tower moment on the lab floor when she knew everything had to change. We explore the Lithuanian forest goddess Medeina as a shapeshifter and huntress, how that archetype lives inside each of us, and why your version of wild might look completely different from anyone else's. We also talk about fear as an initiator, flirting with softness when you're used to being in warrior mode, simple daily rituals that can change your life, and Agne's powerful burning and fire rituals with goddesses like Medeina and Gabia. If you've been feeling the snake-shedding energy of this year, wondering who you are without your old roles, or craving deeper connection to your intuition, your body, and the land, this episode is for you. You can find Agne's work at the Wild Medeina on Substack and at thewildmedeina.com, where she shares her ritual book, her journaling offerings, and more ways to walk this wild woman path. All right, let's step into the forest and meet Agne. Hey, welcome back to another episode of Goddess in Training. I'm Sarah, and today I am here with another new Substack friend named Agne, who writes Wild Medeina on Substack. And I am so excited to talk to you today about what it means to be a wild woman, because there is definitely a wild aspect of me. So, Agne, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's an honor. I'm so excited.
You grew up in Lithuania, and that's where the name Medeina came from, correct? That is a goddess in Lithuania. Tell me more about your upbringing and how you resonate with Medeina.
Yeah, so I'm originally from Lithuania, and that's why my brand name is the Wild Medeina, because I wanted to bring my ancestry into my brand, right? When I'm teaching women about being the wild woman, I really wanted to bring that heritage of mine. And there's not a lot of literature actually about Medeina. Basically, she is the Lithuanian goddess of the forest. And she is known to, be the one with animals. And in some literature, she's actually morphing from one animal to another, like she's embodying different animal spirits. And this is how she gets her wisdom. Like one night she's a wolf, the next night she's a deer, and the next she's an owl, which I feel like it's incredible. And then again, like in one literature, it's saying that she's not actually morphing into animals. She's just a girl in the forest, but she's the one with nature. And she's honoring the kind of like the modern life, and she's honoring the hunters. And then the hunters are actually honoring her as this goddess of the forest, where she's guarding all the animals. Like I knew about Medeina when I was growing up because it's part of my culture, but when I was thinking about the brand name, I was like, this is it. Like this, it's me. Like I am always outside. I'm always in a forest. You will not find me in a city center. I'm always there.
And so what about the forest and what about being wild and being outside of cityscapes and industrial kinds of landscapes? What about that feeds you?
So in the nature, I just feel like I'm free. Like I feel like a free roaming wolf. I just feel liberated. I feel free. I feel calm. I feel like the whole world is at a standstill. And I love quiet. Like I don't like to listen to music, for example, when I'm working or anything. I just like the quiet. And in the forest, especially if you go to the forest in the autumn or winter, you can hear the snow or the leaves falling, and you can feel the ancient wisdom of the forest, and I love it.
I was telling you that it's snowing here today, but I am more of a warm weather person, and I've spent a lot of time in the jungle in Costa Rica, and that is a different kind of serenity. The big forests of the north, where there's snow and the leaves crunching, I don't know. It's a different kind of wild in Costa Rica that I feel it's more primal, I would say, a little bit more dangerous. But yeah, I love it as well. It definitely makes you feel closer to our true nature, really.
Yeah, yeah. I definitely feel like your like Costa Rican forest has very different vibe to like Lithuanian forest, but that's the beauty of it, isn't it? Both of them is nature and both of them is the forest. You just have different essence, different wisdom to it. I love that.
So tell me more about your journey. And have you always been someone who has been really introspective and thought about the divine feminine and our nature, or is this something that you've journeyed into?
So, funnily enough, I haven't been always into these things. Divine femininity found me around, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago when I started going through my initiation period, when the life was crumbling down. I was questioning everything. I was questioning the meaning of life, the reason for living, like everything. And then, funnily enough, my mom actually showed me a masterclass on divine femininity. And I was hooked. And I was like, I don't know what this is, but I need to teach this to others. It was like a spark, and I couldn't stop.
Wow. And so your mother, was she, as you were growing up, did she take you into the forest? Do you have kind of a divine feminine relationship with her?
So we lived by the forest. So, and like we had a dog when I was growing up. So we were always in nature. And my parents do like outdoors as well. So I was always like in nature, just being in the forest. Like, it was always normal. But my mom was not, she was not really into divine femininity or like witchy mystical things. She kind of found it herself going through like early menopause. She started questioning her life. And I don't know how she found it, but she found it and she was like, oh, I think you will like this. And then I just never stopped. I just had to, go to all different courses and workshops and read all the books, and I was hooked.
Wow, wow. Have you ever thought about or have you co-created anything with your mother? I love the idea of walking a path with your mother. We learn so much from our lineage, whether it be from people who are here or ancestors. I think visit me all the time. I definitely don't have that relationship with my mother, but I can see that there would be so much magic in that connection and being able to have these kinds of discussions with her. Do you find that?
We never actually thought about doing something together, but she's my biggest supporter now when I'm posting things, and like she subscribed to my Substack and everything, and she's like, oh, like I read this and oh, that's interesting and stuff. None of my family and friends believed me when I started this business because everyone thought I was crazy, but like now things are starting to change, so but I never thought about it.
So you talked about initiation. Can you go into more detail about who you were before and what you've transformed into?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I don't know how much you and your listeners are familiar with Saturn returns, but around like 25 to 30, we hit our first midlife crisis, and I didn't know that this existed. And I just basically started questioning my life, my upbringing, my point in society, and how everything was working or not working. And I I was working in academia before I did this, and I love science, I love data, I love facts and figures and everything. And like I said, I loved animal science. But I started questioning how we are running academia as a society, how everything is run, and like where is ethos in it, and where is the values, and how we're praising everything, and how we're doing things. And it just basically led me to the point where I was not belonging in that environment, and my soul was, first of all, whispering to me to do my own thing, but I was ignoring my whispers. And then it was roaring at me, you need to leave. This is really bad for you. But I was still ignoring it. And then the day came where I was like on my lowest of the lowest moment was me at work. I was crying on the floor in the lab setting. I was on the floor crying, and I was like, there has to be more out of life than this. And I realized that I had to change everything in order to live, in order to live a meaningful, authentic life. I realized that my conditioning that I had was not serving me anymore.
Yeah, I just learned about Saturn returns actually from a podcast guest a couple weeks ago. And what I learned is that I am about to enter into my midway point, I guess, of my Saturn return. You probably know a lot more about astrology than I do, but so I guess the coming year for me is a time that I'm supposed to reflect on kind of the changes that I've made since my Saturn return and as I enter into the second half of the Saturn return. So I'm super excited about that. Can you go into more detail about the Saturn return and what that is exactly?
So I don't think I'm qualified enough to talk about it because I went to a reading of human design by a girl called Becky the Humble Warrior, and she just read my chart and she kind of told me what it is and what it means to you. I don't really know much about astrology. I just know that like she told me like people go through this and it's very individualistic, and she's told me that like it's like around like a year and a half, 2 years transition period where we go through different changes, and whether we make the changes or not, it's up to us.
Interesting though too, I was thinking about your mother again, and it's possible that she was at the midway point of her Saturn return. If we hit our Saturn return around 25-30, right? She would
Yeah.
probably be around her midpoint. And so it kind of makes sense that you were both thinking about these things at the same time. That's kind of neat.
Yeah, it's interesting because she was also questioning the mother wound and the relationship with her mother, and like how it kind of influenced her, and the way she grew up, and then the way she was raising me and everything. So she kind of went on her own journey of exploring, and then she was like sharing different points with me, which is really interesting because I never had these conversations with my mom growing up. So
That's amazing. So, talk more about what it means to be untamed, that untamed portion of us. I think so many of us are remembering our true essence, but talk more about being wild and being untamed and what that means for you and what that means for the people that you help along their journeys.
So I love this question. So for me, being untamed and being wild, right, is being true to yourself and not conforming into any kind of box that society has put you in throughout your years. So for me, my wild could be, living a nomadic lifestyle and, I don't know, cooking my own bread. But for someone, being wild and untamed could be being a CAO boss babe, but she's true to her soul and she's, killing it, smashing it. She's like living the amazing boss babe life. And if she's truly happy, that's her wild, right? And for me, my wild is so different. Your
Mm.
wild is so different. So for me, the untamed woman is she's sovereign. She knows what she wants. She doesn't do things to prove her worth. She's happy and confident from within. She knows what she stands for, and she's just not bothered by the noise around her.
That makes a lot of sense. And I had the vision of standing in the forest, right? And it's
Yes.
that solitude and that peace that I think that what you're saying is that we're looking for internally. And we could be doing anything, but as long as we have that peace and solitude on the inside, it just makes it so we can walk through life in a much easier way.
Yeah, exactly.
So, talk more about Medeina and how she is possibly this shapeshifter, and how that and shows up in people that you help and yourself too. Because I can definitely say I have been through a lot of iterations of Sarah throughout my life, and what that means metaphorically, and how we change and shift depending upon where we are, what relationships we are in. Talk a little bit more about that.
That's a very good question, actually. So again, I feel like I don't really have a textbook answer. I feel like all of this is very dependent on who you are, your existence. And in terms of like how I work with Medina, or like the way I guide other women to go through that, is I do a lot of rituals and visualizations, and they all to do with the forest or the forest animals. Again, for some women can be, their wild is finding the softer side of them, right? So we do a lot of like, okay, like how the wild woman can take care of herself, and can we do some rituals of devotion to soften, to know that you don't have to always hunt, right? If you imagine a wolf, right? They're not always on the hunt, they always rest as well. And for some women, it could be much more like fire and go, go, go. And like, maybe they've been in too much of the feminine flow, and then they need that warrior kind of Medeina huntress fire element of like, okay, I know what I want to achieve, but I'm not sure how. So this is where I come in, and I'm like, okay, you clearly have a lot of fire. How can we channel that fire into projects, into passion, into getting you confident and claiming the world? So it's very individualistic. And lately, again, like I've done one ritual myself where I just had this vision that I have to speak more about fire and how can we play with fire? How can we ignite the fire? So I'm like trying to focus to that now. Like how can we do some rituals and bring that magic and then like weave that with Medeina being in the forest, and it's all to do with like I would say like a little bit shamanic, a little bit priestess.
And what came to mind for me is the time that I've spent in the forest. It requires a deep level of intuition because
Yeah.
you're traversing places where, thinking about places where I've walked where there are no trails, where there could be danger around every corner. But I think for me, I learned that in order to tap into my intuition, I really need to be fearless. That you have to go into the forest in a way where you have reverence for the potential danger, but where you can't be constantly fearful of it because then you can't really be fully paying attention and present and take care of yourself, really. Have you had that experience? And what role does fear play in your life?
All of your questions are making me so excited. So fear is actually a really good question because I wrote a Substack article about the dormant wild woman and an active wild woman a while back. And I was saying that the dormant
Ah,
wild woman, she wants, like the dormant wild woman, she has all of the potential, right? She has all of the soul is inquiring to do something different. She knows that there's a fire inside of her and she knows that there's something, right? But the fear is stopping her. The fear is stopping her to make the leap, to do the hunt. The fear is stopping her, and she's constantly in her head overthinking the fear. And what makes the wild woman, like active wild woman, right? She takes that fear and she alchemizes that into action. She takes it little steps of the fear and tries to alchemize into something. So the example I gave, I know that I recorded a reel about it. I don't know if I wrote it in the article. That for me, for example, the small thing that was holding me back is I can hold workshops, for 20 people. I'm very happy, very confident. But making the phone call for me, like doctor's appointment phone call, can't do it. I freeze, I get anxious, I get panicky, can't do it. And I was like, okay, this
interesting.
is not serving me anymore. So what I started doing is like every time I need to figure something out, like, adulting stuff, I'm like, oh, let me see if there's a phone call that I could make a phone call rather than like typing to Google or ChatGPT about it. And I started training this muscle of being like, I'm fearful of making the phone call, but it's actually like a big thing for me. And now I'm not bothered. Like, okay, I can make a phone call. It doesn't matter. And I remember quite a few women were like, this makes so much sense, like just using something small to then keep using it for different kind of things. And so like I feel like the wild woman has that fear. We all have fear, right? It's not a good thing or a bad thing, but it's how we choose to work with the fear. Can we flirt with the fear as well? I use a word flirt a lot. How can you flirt with the fear? It's like, oh, I'm a bit scared, but maybe I can be a bit of a daredevil. How can I use that for my benefit? How can I use this as a path of initiation? So that's what my take on it.
And I love the idea of flirting too. I've been thinking a lot about manifestation and abundance is something that I've been writing a lot about. And I read something recently about, well, about maintaining the frequency of abundance, but also seducing or flirting with the idea of abundance. Talk some more about how you use the word flirt and how it's almost like a dance with the things that we're trying to call into our lives.
Yeah, so it's for me, I'm still learning with it. I'm still learning to dance with it and to play with it. And I think, well, what's coming through me now when you ask the question is the lesson I'm going through now in life is be softer. And I'm, well, naturally, right? I'm quite masculine and quite like huntress like. So for me, softness is quite difficult to attain, right? And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to flirt with it, trying to play with it. So, identifying what softness for me, like specifically means and how can I incorporate it into life. And it's not about putting it on a to-do list, like, oh, today I need to flirt with the fear or flirt with the softness. It's like, how can you make it fun and make it sensual? And how can you just have that like body experience? Because with women, we need to feel it out. We need to feel it in our bodies. We need to feel it with our heart, and we need to make our body move. Like I'm talking now, and I can feel it coming through me. And so that's kind of my take on it. That how can we make that into a devotion and almost a witchy magical practice? And how can we find rituals or woman circles that can help us?
Thinking back to your experience in academia and how there is no space for any kind of softness or that kind of femininity. If you could reimagine what academia could look like if those elements were incorporated, have you thought about that at all?
It's really interesting that you ask that because I actually went on a podcast interview with this woman called Martina, and she was also in academia but ran away from it. And she asked me the question, do you think that we still have the hope for academia? What's your take? And I was like, I feel like at this point we just need to walk away and create a whole new thing for it to work. And so I haven't thought about like how can we change it now because I think a lot of the poison, I feel like it's really deeply rooted. And I don't want to sound negative or anything, but I feel like a lot of the issues and the poison is like really integrated quite deep. And I feel like even though now there's like new earth awakening and a lot of like feminine like femininity and all these and divine femininities coming up through, I feel like we're so far out from it that I don't think that we can actually salvage anything. I think if a lot of women would go, or people who are, to divine femininity in general, if we would make our own school, it would be groundbreaking because it will be based on amazing qualities and different values.
I agree with you that so many of these structures, they just need to completely crumble. And we're
Yeah.
in this probably long term tower moment for a lot of different things. I hesitate to try to imagine what life is going to be like after everything falls because I don't think we're even really ready to imagine what it's going to look like. And part of our job, I feel like, is to be open to the things that we literally can't imagine right now, right? And be open to all of the possibilities because what we know is so tiny compared to what we don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautifully said.
And there's so much ego in all of these structures. I think if we were to try to rebuild, that we would run the risk of infusing them with ego again, and that's not what we're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know, like when I started questioning everything when I was in academia, but I realized that like I'm a tiny, tiny droplet in the giant ocean. And as much as I was trying to fight for it, because like naturally I'm quite warrior-like, but I couldn't. So I thought the best way to do it is just to run, to escape, and to create my own thing and, help women guide them back to the wild. And hopefully this is how we're going to create a whole new tribe of women.
Do you think at all or resonate with the Chinese New Year and how we're finishing the year of the snake and entering into the year of the horse? How do you connect with those two animals in particular? And are you thinking about what 2026 might bring with the year of the horse?
So I I definitely believe that this year of the snake was quite intense for a lot of people. I spoke with quite a lot of people, and all of them are saying, you know what? It's been like one shedding after different shedding after another shedding. And so yeah, and you mentioned as well that you're just going through different life lessons and everything.
Yeah, definitely. But so what about the horse? Is it going to be a galloping horse, do you think? I'm kind of hoping that it's like, I'm imagining being on a horse and my hair flying in the
Yeah.
breeze and everything being free and have some sort of ease to it, but intensity, right? I think there'll be some intensity. What do you think?
I believe that because so for my birthday, so I turned 30 this year, and for my birthday, I asked my mom to buy me a reading from the human design lady, and I was asking her like what's next year's all about because I said for me this year was like I said like one life lesson after another, and it's like tower moment, and she was saying that collectively, if we've done a lot of work and inner shedding and like going deeper into you this year, the year of the horse should be like not like a reward, but like better, like, like striving for, we know what we're striving for. We have the aim. We have all our routines nailed down. We have our whys nailed down. We know our ethos. We know what we stand for. And it's going to be a really nice, breezy, fiery way forward. So it really resonated with me that if we're doing all the shedding and all the releasing, and plus Snake is quite feminine, isn't it? The serpent, she's very, very feminine like. So if we've done the work, then next year we can fly like a horse. That's my take on it. I don't know if it's correct or not, but
Well, let's manifest that. I am so ready for that kind of energy and to be done with the
yeah,
snake energy.
yeah. What do you think about the next year for the horse?
Well, I am excited for it. I agree with you. I think that it is going to be a fast pace. But what comes to mind too is horses have such huge hearts. And I don't know if you've spent time with horses, but I've had very intentional meditations with horses, and they can lock in when you're in a meditative state. They will lock in with you and they will freeze and just have that intense heart connection. And so if we can bring more of that into the world, that would be absolutely amazing.
Yeah, 100%.
Talk more about ritual. I am somebody who I don't have a lot of natural rituals in my life. And when I think about it more, there are things that I do. I make my cacao every morning and I sit down and I'm trying to bring more intention into my life by doing things like mentally saying a little prayer over my water before I drink or having more intentional quiet time and I meditate a lot. But what kinds of rituals do you have and what kinds of rituals do you advise or suggest to the people that you work with?
I love that. I feel like every question you ask, I'm like, oh, this is my thing. So for the rituals, I mean, I would say this also that I am biased because I'm actually writing a ritual book with one girl that I met online and we clicked. Yeah, so we made like the main thing. We're just making some changes now. We're hoping it's gonna get released in January, but we're still doing the editing. So the rituals are a big part of my life because like the ritual book and everything.
That's so exciting. So give me some details. What kinds of rituals are in the book? What are you excited about most?
So, so again, like just kind of to backtrack, the rituals were not part of my life for my whole life. I only found them when I started stepping into this wild woman divine femininity. So I'm saying that who people who are listening and they're thinking, oh, I don't really have a relationship with rituals. I don't want them to think that they missed out or that they need some sort of big initiation moment. Like, no, you can start small. And as you mentioned, if you're drinking cacao in the morning, this can be a beautiful ritual of settling in for the day. Or if you have long hair, just like brushing the hair with some oil, like this is your goddess ritual. You're honoring your femininity. So it's like the smallest things that you can think of, and then you can expand on them. So that's my take on it and my lesson with the rituals because I assumed that rituals have to be this big, grand thing, take a couple of hours and everything. And no, it's, 5 minutes and you're grounded and you're feeling that.
And so, as you've incorporated more ritual into your life, what changes have you experienced?
Oh, wow. I mean, we can talk for like 5 hours about this. I feel like my spirit guides have been, again, if you believe them or not, my spirit guides have been talking with me much more. I can feel my intuition much more. I just feel like I'm talking with my body and my soul. We have this like stronger intuition relationship than before. I feel like I'm managing to quiet down the noise of the world better and like listening to what my body needs and what my soul is needing now. And I'm a big fan of doing burning rituals because, well, A, I love fire, but B, my current life stage is I'm burning down the old version of me and birthing the new. So I've been like really, really passionate about doing the burning ritual. You write something down on a piece of paper and you burn it down. And it's been amazing. And technically, you can write something down and release it, right? Burn it. And it's 5 minutes, technically, right? I mean, you can obviously sit with it and think more about it, but it's like technically it could be a 5 minute ritual, but the changes are profound.
Wow. So, do you feel like just by burning it, it just releases in a different way than just setting the intention that you're going to release something?
Yeah, for sure. I feel like it gives that magic to it. So not only you're writing it down, so you're already putting it on a piece of paper, right? You're already actually forming into words, which when you're writing something down, you're already releasing it. And then the next step is to burn it. And then what I do is I bury the ashes in the garden. So it's like another form of release.
Right. Sending it back to Mother Gaia. Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. I think I'm going to do a burning ritual right after we're done talking here today. I have something in mind. I'm like, okay, I think I need to fully release this today. So
Yeah.
thank you.
So I feel like, yeah, good. You need to let me know how it goes.
I will. So thinking more about rebirth and shadow work, what are the things that as you're talking to people, they're most fearful about facing?
Oh, that's a good question. I think, again, I don't think there's one answer fits all. I feel like it depends. But I had quite a few clients who were saying that they're actually scared to make the leap because they're scared of the unknown. So, as in, like, if you start opening the Pandora's chest of your conditioning and your shadows, they don't know what's going to come out and they don't know what domino effect it's going to have. We're so conditioned to know every step, every outcome and every possible why and if. And but the wild woman's way or divine feminine way, it's a lot to do with trust. So it's like you're stepping somewhere, you don't know what's gonna come out, but you have to trust yourself.
Yeah, that's definitely been my experience too. Also, questioning everything because I surprise myself sometimes. I think that I am walking in sovereignty and that this is what I'm supposed to be doing. But then I'll catch myself and I'll ask the question, am I walking this path in this way because it's comfortable, because it's what I know to be from my past? Or is it really my path? Because so many times something will feel good purely because it's what I knew, it's what's comfortable. Have you experienced that? And how do we discern, how do we differentiate between what is just comfortable and what is really true?
Also, I'm gonna use the example of my current life right now that for the longest time I had the conditioning to be the very strong, independent one, right? I'm a daddy's girl. I've always been like, like the tomboy kind of girl. And because I'm the only child, my parents were raising me to be strong and independent, which is good because, I have my independence. But it made me stuck in this over masculine, overachieve, overdo, overcompensate kind of lifestyle. And now I'm learning that softness is the way, that you can have your warrior moments, you can have your angry wolf moments, but you have to come back to loving, gentle, and compassion towards yourself. And as you mentioned, you start questioning, well, okay, if I've been my whole life very strong, very independent, not asking for help, then who am I now? So am I supposed to ask for help? Like this feels weird and unnatural. How do you go about that? So I really resonate with what you're saying. It's that unknown. How am I supposed to be now? Like how am I supposed to ask for help now? What is this life?
Right. And it feels wrong at first just because it's so unfamiliar.
Yeah, yeah. And like again, we're coaching women, right? Going through that. I had so many examples where women were so obsessed with taking care of everyone else but themselves. And I used to ask them like, what do you want? What do you actually want? And they don't know. And they don't know because they're like, oh, well, I need to think about, my husband, my kids, my mother-in-law, my pet, my whatever, and they come like the last on the list. And I'm like, but this is not the way forward. You need to make sure that your cup is full as well. And then again, like we're stepping into this unknown territory and we're trying to find grace for ourselves and we're trying to like again flirt with the fear like, oh, okay, I am gonna cancel the meeting and have a bubble bath because I need this right now. And then it's like, ah.
Yeah, I remember so clearly after I went through my divorce, a healer asked me that exact question. Well, what do you actually want? And I started shaking with anxiety and crying because I could not answer that question. And I think so many women are not able to answer that question at all because we're trained, we're conditioned to always be thinking about other people.
Yeah. I hope you know what you want now and claiming that as a wild woman.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. But it's not even a big grand picture of what I want to. Like you said, it's the daily things. It's making
Yes.
decisions for ourselves and saying no and feeling okay saying no and feeling okay just sitting home doing nothing because that's what I feel like doing. And getting into this flow that I was never in before, that I think when we're in that kind of warrior mindset or more in our masculine energy, we have our tasks and we're checking our tasks off our task list. And it seems like you're kind of experiencing this too, where our day just feels really different when you're more in that feminine flow. And I don't know, I don't feel like eating until 3 o'clock. So I don't eat until 3 o'clock. Or
Yeah.
I just feel like laying down. So I'm gonna lay down. I think is really healing. Making those little tiny decisions is really transformational.
Yeah, and again, it's coming back to the ritual question. It's all about the daily devotions to us. So sitting down with a really good book for the time you're gonna drink the cacao, it's time with you, with yourself, and you need that. You need to have those moments where you're just with yourself.
Exactly. Circling back around to mythology and how it connects to ritual. In my writing, I like to connect to a whole bunch of pantheon of different goddesses from all different cultures. What do we learn and what have you learned from Medeina about? You said there aren't that many stories that are written down about her, but by tapping into that energy, I feel like they're in our consciousness for a reason and they're almost telling us stories that we're remembering from a long, long time ago, even if it's not written in a book. Have you had that experience where you're in conversation with Medeina or other goddesses?
Oh my God, I have two stories about this. So one story is that just before my 30th birthday, I was doing EFT tapping with my partner. So my partner is a hypnotherapist and he does EFT tapping. And we were just tapping through, I can't even remember what we were tapping, but I was in a sense with him. And we released something. Again, I can't remember what we were releasing, but then he was guiding me through this hypnosis meditation sort of thing. And he was talking, right? But I wasn't actually listening to him. I was in my own little world. And what I saw, I was in the forest and I saw this huntress dressed in old medieval kind of clothes. I saw this huntress stepping into me like a hologram and then stepping out and then stepping in again and out. And I got such a strong confirmation that I am the Medeina, like I am the huntress.
Wow, that's so powerful. And
Yeah,
you
it
said
was
you had two
incredible.
stories. Is there another story?
Yeah, and another story was that not that long ago now, I think a couple of weeks ago, I kept getting all of these nudges or all of these I don't know, information from somewhere that I need to be softer. Like I need to be softer. I need to be much more just giving giving myself grace, but giving others grace as well. And so I've done a burning ritual. I've done a burning ritual, and then I went to the shower, and then I had a shower with some salt from Iceland because my parents brought some salt from Iceland. And so I mixed that with rose water and I was just having like a shower with those two elements. And I just got such a strong pull that like I need to talk more about Lithuanian fire goddess. And she's called Gabia. And Lithuanian fire goddess, she is depicted more like the fireplace of the house, like a warm, nurturing fire and not a destructive fire. And it was just so clear to me that I've been fiery my whole life, but maybe I can change my fire into becoming that soft, warming, glowing fire and not destructive fire. And it was just like I'm having goosebumps telling you this. Like it was just a whole thing.
What powerful imagery too that you received. That's amazing.
I feel like everyone can tap into these things because, I'm speaking about Lithuanian mythology because it's my heritage, but there's so many gods and goddesses that quite popular. And if or the viewers are resonating with them, just look up in rituals that associated with them, and then maybe you will find your goddess or god that you want to resonate with, and then they will speak to you more. So it's a beautiful path of exploration, I would say.
Yeah, I've definitely found that as well. And when you receive that kind of information in that really visual way, how does that feel in your body? Like when you felt the goddess, what was her name again? Of the fire, the hearth?
Gabia.
Gabia, did you feel Gabia in your body? Or did you kind of understand it in a more embodied way than just reading a story about her?
Yeah, I felt my whole body just like vibrating almost, and like being in that super like feminine serpent kind of way. I just felt like I danced after that ritual. So after I finished the shower, I was dancing a lot. I just felt like my body had to just be in that flow, in that like feminine movement kind of way. There was nothing in the brain. There was nothing logical about all of this. Everything was in the body.
Wow, that's so amazing. I love it when things like that happen. It's just so incredibly powerful and life-changing.
Yeah.
And so since Medeina and Gabia are not familiar probably to most of our listeners, if you think collectively there's one message that each of them or both of them would impart upon women and our listeners today, what would that message be?
Well, that's a good question. That's a good question. I'm thinking that I believe that either Medeina or Gabia or any other goddess that, listeners resonate with, they will have a very independent message to each and one of us, right? Because we here on Earth have our own sole purpose. So my suggestion is, after you finish listening this, go to nature or go and, have your cacao and just sit and think who you can resonate with or who you can talk to with the goddesses, and they will give you guidance, and they will ignite or light up the next thing that you have to do, the next initiation, the next path, because everything is very individualistic.
Yeah, and that's basically what intuition is too. You take one step,
Yes.
you do something with intention, and then your intuition will give you the next step. And the more that we listen to it, the more magical life can be, is what I like to tell people.
Yeah, 100%.
So, what are you excited about beyond moving away from the snake and into the horse and your book coming out, your book of rituals? Do you have anything else that you're working on that you're excited about birthing into this world?
Many things, so many things.
Give us a preview.
Okay, so let's start with like the written stuff. So the ritual book is coming out at some point in January. Then I have my own journal, which is guided journaling. So I have different questions to different parts, and it's called Untamed. So that's already on Amazon, but I haven't properly launched it yet because life initiations. So that's live, and then I co-written a book with this one woman as well, which I'm so proud of. And the book is coming out soon as well. It's all about how to live through those dark times, how to find meaning, and just how to keep going in the dark times. And because the book is co-written by two women, we have very different approach. So my friend, she took approach of like very science-based approach and very logical, analyzing, proof facts, where I've taken approach of the wild priestess and the wild huntress and everything leading through emotions and feeling through things. So even though it's one book, but it has such a different flavor to it. So I'm so excited about that.
Wow, I can't wait to read it. That sounds absolutely amazing. And so needed right now. I feel like we're all kind of experiencing darkness and heaviness right now. I need to figure out different ways to walk through it in the best way possible because it's challenging.
Yeah, yeah. It's like, again, how can you find the light in the darkness?
Exactly. Well, Agni, thank you so much. This has been such a wonderful conversation, and you are just so full of light yourself. Just sharing space with you has brought so much joy in a dark day. So, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you for, giving me the space to speak about things and just connect with you and your audience. And yeah, genuinely, thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to Goddess in Training. I hope something in this episode stirred your knowing or softened your heart. If it spoke to you, share it with someone who needs it, or leave a review or comment to help others find us. If you're watching on YouTube, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. If you want to hear more conversations like this, please consider supporting Goddess in Training on Patreon. For more tools and offerings to deepen your intuition practice, visit goddessintraining.online. You can also join the Scroll of Sashat on Substack for twice-weekly stories of how I followed my intuition. The music for Goddess in Training is Madre Ayahuasca by Arkawa, and you can find more of his music in the link to his website in the show notes. Remember, your intuition is not a mystery, it's a memory. Keep listening.
resplandor del fuego, estrellita, tabaco santo, fuerza de rape, soplo de luz,